If you're considering starting the Couch to 5K for the first time, there are a few things that you will want to consider. The first being that there is a minimum commitment if you're doing the program. The program runs for 8 weeks and concludes in the 9th week, and each week requires 3 separate runs. Fortunately, they don't last very long. I found that I was probably on the treadmill for 20 to 25 minutes. This does get a little bit longer as you get further into the program, but compared to other exercise or training programs, the commitment honestly is very small. The second thing to consider, or I guess just to know about the program, is that it is incredibly flexible. You can schedule your 3 runs a week, any day, anytime, morning, night, whatever works best for you. Also, the runs sort of work on an interval premise where you run for a certain amount of time and then walk for a certain amount of time. But if you're looking for more of a challenge, you could always run and then jog for your rests. If you're just getting back to movement in general, I don't see why you couldn't walk the run periods and then sit or rest for the rest periods. Additionally, you can choose the speeds at which you walk or run. Last time I did the program, I ran at 5.6 miles per hour, and I found that by the time I was done, I could run a 5K at just over 30 minutes, which was faster than the 5.6, but at least it got me to the point where I was used to being on my feet for an extended period of time. The third thing that I highly stress about this program is to listen to your body. If you find that the running is too difficult, slow down. If you find that you're having way too easy of a time, you can always bump the speed up. In the first week, you're only running for 60-second intervals, so I feel as though it's probably pretty easy to overestimate your abilities and run a bit too fast, so be willing to adjust as you get into longer and longer runs. Another part of listening to your body is that it is okay and honestly probably expected that you're going to need to repeat certain weeks. I remember I repeated week 4 3 times, maybe even 4 times, because it's the first week where you have a long run at the end of the week, and I just could not run for 20 minutes straight at the speed, and I didn't want to bump my speed down because I knew that I was very close to being able to do it, so I repeated week 4 until I could do the 20-minute run at the end of the week without having to stop. So I know that I said that the first long run happens at the end of week 4. It actually happens at the end of week 5. It's been a few years since I've done the program, and I kind of forgot what the layout was, and I should have double checked first. So when you hear me later on in the video again saying that the first long run happens at the end of week 4, that's incorrect. Week 4 is just another set of intervals to bridge the gap between week 3 and week 5 when the first long run, which is 20 minutes, happens at the end of the week. The last thing to consider is that if you do have time, I would suggest adding in cross training. There's a bit of a leapfrog effect where your cardio and your legs are at different points. For example, there were runs where my cardio felt fine, but my legs were so sore and were really holding me back from doing the run well. And then I would find that my legs would be completely fine, but my cardio would be lagging, my lungs would be burning, and I'd be having a really difficult time in that way. And I found that once I added in some strength training for my legs, and particularly actually for my core, that my running ability improved right away. Continuing on, I'm going to give you a bit of a brief overview of what the program looks like, just so that you're not afraid to try it. I know maybe there's a bit of a block for you to download the app because you're too scared to get started. So I'm going to show you week by week what it looks like so you know what to expect, and so that you can think about it and get to the point where you're ready to download the app and get started. Week 1 consists of 8 intervals of running for 60 seconds and then walking for 90 seconds. So all told, it's around 20 minutes. You're not on the treadmill for very long, but that's another point of the program with the intervals, is they're just trying to get you on your feet long enough that you get used to moving and weight bearing. Week 2 ups it a little bit, and you're expected to do 6 intervals of running for 90 seconds, but then you get a longer break and you get 2-minute breaks of walking in between those 90-second intervals. Week 3 tries to get you used to running for longer periods of time. So there are 2 reps of running for 90 seconds with a break of 90 seconds, and then running for 3 minutes with a break of 3 minutes. So while it is upping the intensity of the length of runs that you're doing, it also gives you an equivalent amount of break to catch your breath before the next run. And I find that this really helps when you're first increasing the amount of time that you're getting used to running. Or I guess I should be saying jogging. Week 4 onwards is a bit of a mishmash. It slowly gets you used to it, but week 4 is the first week what I would consider a long run. The last run of week 4 is 20 minutes straight. And this is the week that I had to repeat a few times because I just wasn't ready. I would have to hop off the treadmill and drink some water or take 5 to 10 seconds, whatever it was, and then hop back on. And in my mind, that wasn't completing the 20-minute run, so I repeated that week until I was able to do the 20 minutes straight. Each week after that has a long run at the end, and I think it goes up in 2-minute intervals, so to 22, then 25, then 28, and then that's the point where you're done the program. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. If you're running at a slower pace and it gets you up to the point where you can run for 30 minutes straight, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be running 5K, but you're going to be close, and you're at least going to have built up endurance and the ability to be on your feet for that length of time. If you're wanting to run the 5K in 30 minutes by the end of the program, you'll need to be training at 6.2 miles per hour, which is equivalent to 10 kilometers per hour, but I think that's honestly very fast if you're just starting out. So just go with whatever you're comfortable with. You can always work on your speed later and increasing that distance later. If you get through it, done and dusted, and you're happy with where you're at, great. If you want to continue on, the same company does make an app called Couch to 10K. The first section of that app is the same as Couch to 5K, but it continues on from there to get you up to a 10K distance. I actually just completed my first week 2 run with a good friend of mine this weekend at Sasamat Lake. You can see my cat in the background. Right there. Luna! I'll link to the loop information in the description below. You'll probably notice as my videos go on that I'll be linking to trails within All Trails a lot. It's an app that I use very frequently. You can also use it online through your web browser. And the great thing about All Trails is that you can look up trails that you've already completed and you can see their elevation gain and distance, and then you can search by the same parameters. So you can find similar trails to ones that you've completed, and then you can also use it to try and find whatever your next step is. I found while I was hiking last year that I would use it to try and find the next step up without having to ask around, because I didn't know a lot of people that were hiking and I was too afraid to just pick a trail and go if I didn't know what to expect. All Trails is amazing for that. You can set minimum and maximum amounts. So if you've done a trail that's 300 meters of elevation gain, you can set to search for ones up to 400 meters of elevation gain over the same amount of distance. And then you know that it's going to be a bit more challenging than that last hike or trail run, but it's not completely outside of your comfort zone or your abilities. I'm not sponsored by All Trails at all. I just love it and I'm going to be using it a lot. So I wanted to explain what it was so that when you see it in the future in my other videos, you knew where the link was going to. As part of starting this YouTube channel, I've been watching a lot of tutorials online about how to edit and how to take video, and there's an artistic component of this I want to play with. So at the end of this video, I'm going to put a little cinematic of the Sasamat Lake loop that I did with my friend and play around with some editing and see what I can do. So stick around for that cinematic, and I'll see you next Thursday. Bye.